Welcome everyone to our community forum tonight. Thank you for taking the time to join us. It's been said the best way to address challenges and move forward in positive directions is to listen. If our definition of listening is simply taking a break from talking, then positive change and problem solving will certainly suffer. But if we respectfully listen to reliable sources of information and then carefully consider what we've heard, we put ourselves in a position to offer constructive input and ultimately be a part of the solution. The very fact that you are here, or that you're watching this program online later, is greatly appreciated by those who sit before you today and those who've organized this event. The goal of the program tonight is to provide reliable information from the people in this community that we've entrusted in positions of leadership. Hopefully some of the questions that you have will be answered during the presentations this evening. You may find the need to ask a question based upon something you hear. The hope is that you leave tonight better informed and more firmly engaged in issues facing our county and our city. So again, I welcome you tonight and thank you for attending. In the back, on this side next to the chairs there's a table. There are forms that you can fill out with questions if you'd like to be able to do so. And if something comes up during the program, you want to walk back and fill one out, you're certainly welcome to do so. There's a box to put those in, and they'll be brought up front, and we'll try to do our best to answer everyone's question. Certainly a big thank you tonight to George Lottmeyer, G4, for the sound system and the expertise that he brings when we're able to communicate effectively with you tonight, and certainly to Nova Video for sharing this and providing the opportunity for it to be seen online later. I'd like to introduce to you now those who are participating in our forum tonight. And gentlemen, as I call your name, I would just simply have you raise your hand to be recognized here. David Turk is the chair of the Richland County Board. Josh Elder joins us tonight. Josh is the Deputy Interim Administrator for Richland County and our county's Highway Commissioner. Todd Coppernall is the Mayor of the City of Richland Center. Steve Board is the District Administrator of the Richland School District. Mike Hardy is the Director of Simons Recreation Complex, and Alan Lenz is the Vice President of the Simons Foundation Board. We're going to begin tonight with a statement from each one of our participants, and I believe we'll begin with the Mayor, and then everyone will have an opportunity. The last to speak will be Dave Turk, our County Board Chair, who will then provide a presentation to help us understand one of the key focuses that brings us here tonight, and that is certainly the status of the campus property and otherwise. So again, thank you for coming, and Mayor, we'll turn things over to you.
Thank you, Ron. Okay, welcome everybody. Thanks for being here. Honor and a privilege to get to do this. It's the second time we've done this. Just so the public is aware, this group has met consistently for about 18 months now to find opportunities to collaborate, work together, and help the entire community. We all realize whatever entity we serve, we're representing all of the same people, and that is the point. Before I pass the microphone along, I want to take just a second to acknowledge and thank the community for the tremendous outpouring of support my family is receiving while my mother goes through cancer treatment. It's been actually a little bit overwhelming. So thank you to everybody. That's why I was late. Sorry about that. Anyway, any questions you have tonight, please don't be shy. That's why we're up here.
Pass it to Mike.
All right, thank you on behalf of Simons. I know we've got a lot of our employees here, a lot of our staff here, a lot of our members here as well. So we do appreciate seeing everyone come out here, and obviously we're very interested in being a part of this and being part of the community and seeing where we land and where we can help in this collaboration effort. So appreciate you being here, and if you can answer any questions, happy to do so. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Al Lenz. I'm the Vice President of the Simons Foundation Board, and I just want to do a quick recap on some of the things that the Foundation has done for Simons in the past year. We wrote a grant and received a 50-50 matching grant from the Joan Woodman Orton McCollum Foundation for a new piece of inclusive exercise equipment that's in the exercise room. It's called the SciFit Pro 2. It's something that I guess I'd say able-bodied people can use, but it's also, the seat can be rolled out of the way so that if someone's in a wheelchair, with a little assistance, they can get in there and use the machine as well. Because everyone, no matter their abilities, benefits from exercise. The The foundation kicked in about $3,000 to repair the solar panels that are out behind Simon's. That will end up saving Simon's about between $3,000 and $4,000 a year for electric costs, so that's a pretty good return on investment. The foundation bought some inflatable pool toys, and from what I've seen, the kids are having a grand time on those. Nova Video did a little walkthrough with Kyle, the assistant director, and there were some kids from Riverdale there, and that was the first time I had seen kids using those inflatables, and they were just having a great time. And I'm sure there's, Mike can probably share that the kids are really enjoying them, so that's been money well spent. We also installed a coffee bar to try and create more of a sense of community so people can sit around and have a cup of coffee if they want to. The foundation also put in some new furniture in the atrium that was just recently installed, probably 2 weeks ago? Yeah, about 2 weeks ago, so that's been a nice addition. And then the sign, the entrance sign to Simon's, that's a work in progress, and the county IT people and a local sign company are working on getting the finishing touches put on that. And then the most recent thing was that Simon's was nominated or received the recognition for the Outstanding Organization of the Year from Richland Rejuvenates. And so we're very proud of what Simon's has been doing since 1987, and the foundation's here to try and help the Simon's continue to have those types of successes. So if any questions, please feel free to ask. The foundation's always looking for volunteers and donations, so get a hold of one of us, please. Thanks.
Thank you. I apologize in advance. I will not be as short as these folks have been, so I did not know I was supposed to limit it to a couple of minutes. But listen, my name's Steve Board. This is the fourth year I've been in the district administrator role at the Richland School District. Last year when we had this community forum, the Richland School District took kind of center stage as we tried to get accurate, truthful, transparent information out to the folks that attended. This was a great opportunity for us to do that, and I appreciated all of the people that attended last year, and I thank you for attending to try to get that accurate information firsthand again this year. It's been wonderful to be able to collaborate with the folks up here, the folks from the city. Ashley and Jason are here, Mayor Coppernall, Candace, the previous administrator, Derek and Josh, as well as Dave Turk, and Mike at the Simons, and numerous other people. I think the collaboration in our community is so important, and I think that that's where we can really move our community forward. So I wanted to take the opportunity to give folks in the room an update on where the school district's at, where we're at with the referendum, where we're at with just things in general, and make sure that our public is aware of what our public schools are doing in our community. So as I mentioned, we kind of took center stage with the referendum a year ago, tried to give that accurate information out. You have, public has supported the 2 referendum questions that were asked last April, and you've seen that impact on your tax bills this past December. And that's an investment that our taxpayers and our stakeholders are making into our public school, and we appreciate the support that they are giving us. I'm happy to announce that our tax rate was much lower than what was previously anticipated. Even though there was an increase, it was much lower than what we expected and what we were projecting that to be a year ago at this time. So there were 2 questions that were asked. The first question that passed was non-recurring referendum, started off at $2.3 million, which was meant to do 2 things. 1, offset the projected deficit that we were going to have, and then 2, invest into our staff. And I'm happy to report that's exactly what we have done with that money. We have invested approximately $1.4 million directly into our staff. 207 employees received significant raises to get to competitive salaries, okay? And this is teachers, this is our support staff, these are IT workers, these are our food staff, our custodial, maintenance, everybody, okay? Truthfully, with the exception of myself. I did not feel it was fair to ask the public for money only to give myself a raise or to ask for one. So I did not get one. The other 207 employees did get one. Mine is contractual. With that being said, that question, referendum, is going to expire at the end of the 27-28 school year. That was a commitment that we asked our stakeholders for 4 years. Let the school district show truth and transparency and be fiscally responsible, and then we would ask again in 4 years. We will have to, that referendum will go off the books. It will not be on the books any longer, and then at that point, we will reevaluate where we're at and come back. But I wanted to plant that seed so that you're not shocked in the 27th year. The second question was the borrowing of $27.16 million for capital improvement to our schools, okay? We had leaky roofs at our high school. We had significant deficiencies in our hard surface areas, concrete, sidewalks, parking lots, etc. We had sinking classrooms, literally sinking into the earth, classrooms at our primary school. The extent of that ended up being more extensive than what we thought. We anticipated there being 2 classrooms that were sinking. Once we did dirt sampling and architectural studies, we found out that there were actually 4 classrooms that were actually sinking. So it was a little bit bigger project than what we anticipated. Right now, we have completely fixed our roofs. You may have seen the folks up there last summer at the high school. That is completely done. All of the buildings, our primary school, intermediate school, and our high school have relatively new roofs. Everything's completely done with that. Our primary school construction plans on happening this summer as soon as school gets out. Primary focus will be fixing those 4 classrooms that may spill over into the school year slightly, especially due to the scope doubling in size, going from 2 classrooms to 4. But we'll also be putting in air conditioning as well as just some general upgrades and upkeeps to make things more ADA accessible, restrooms, etc. Okay? The bidding for that is done, and with the projects that we've completed and the bidding that is in, even with the scope of the classroom sinking doubling in size, we are right now about $550,000 under budget. Okay? Intermediate school will be going out to bid here in the next 60 days, with the high school bids lagging by about 45 days. By June 1st, we should have both of those completely bid out, and we'll be able to give the public a good update on where we stand from a financial standpoint. We have not touched any of our contingency fund. We have not touched any of our bond proceeds. So I'm very, very optimistic. Our construction management people are very, very optimistic that we are going to be able to complete those projects, not only on time and complete everything that we told the public that we would complete, but we will be able to do that at or under budget. Construction at the intermediate school and the high school will be taking place in the summer of '26. There's a possibility that some of the one-off components may be able to get done sooner than next summer. Don't hold me to this, but there's a possibility that perhaps maybe our auditorium upgrades or our tech ed upgrades or those things that are very isolated may be able to get done because they'll be bid out separately and may be able to get done in a little shorter time frame. But right now we're planning on intermediate school and high school being completed for the start of school at the 26-27 school year. Okay, so with that, I also mentioned when I gave the presentation last year that we had been facing some struggles. Our school district, it's no secret, had gone through some challenges, and I wanted to be very transparent on what some of those challenges were. Some of the challenges that we had facing is that we were facing declining enrollment, okay? And right now, our 4 biggest classes that are at 100 or more are 9th graders, our 10th graders, our 11th graders, and our 12th graders. So it doesn't take that much, data analysis to understand that as those 4 classes graduate and we were replacing them with classes of 65 or 70, that we're going to have declining enrollment, okay? We projected last year with a graduating class of 118 and an incoming class of 65, we projected that we would be down 53 students for the start of this year, all right? We've made significant strides in trying to bring back students, trying to retain the ones we have, trying to reduce our open enrollment numbers. In the last 10 months, we have increased our student population by 69 students, okay? Plus 15 in open enrollment, retaining or bringing students in, but 69 students in the last 10 months have come into our district, and we are now educating that we weren't last year. So instead of going down 53 students, as it stands today, we are actually up 17. I think that that's something really positive and really something to celebrate. Why are some of those things? Just a couple of basic statistics, okay? I think that we know that our school district has gone through a period of time where perhaps bullying wasn't addressed like our community thought it would, and we lost a lot of students. Pulled some stats here just this morning. In 21-22 at our high school level, we had 22 cases of bullying, okay? Last year, 5. We're continuing to reduce that. That's a 77% reduction in bullying. Vaping, huge issue in our school a couple years ago. We had 53 vaping issues, 10 of which were THC related. This year, we have 11, and 2 of them THC related. We've got community resource officer in our school, which has been a positive impact, joint effort with our city, jointly funded by our city, positive impact on all of our student discipline. We've installed vape detectors in all of our restrooms at both the intermediate school and the high school. Putting deterrent efforts, being proactive with these things has made a huge difference. How about academics? 3 years ago, our Richland Center High School DPI report card was below expectations. 2 years ago, we were at meets expectations, and our most recent report card, we now exceed expectations. District as a whole went from meets expectations the last couple of years to now exceeding expectations. We are making changes. We are not satisfied with where we're at. We still have a lot of work to do. We still have a lot of students to bring in. We still have a lot of staff to retain, but we are making progress. I'm confident in that. But again, your input and your feedback is vital for us as a public school. We are a public school, and we should value the public's input on what they're looking for from the school. So I encourage all of you and any of your friends and parents of students to reach out and help us find ways to support the students in our community. We've tried to expand our education options. We've opened up a partner school, formerly known as East Hall. We're looking at more ways to meet students' needs through alternative education. These have been positive things. We continue to grow that development and interaction with our community, but it does take everyone, and I look forward to your feedback. So if you do have any questions school related, happy to try to answer them later on. So I appreciate the time here, and I'll pass it down to the next person, I guess. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Well, Dave will be our next speaker, and he will be taking the podium to be able to share with you this evening. Again, I would just remind you, if you came in a bit late, that there is the question box. You can submit questions, and we'll do our best to be able to do those. And we'll begin the questions as soon as Dave's presentation is complete. So without further ado, Dave Turk, the chair of the Richland County Board.
Thank you, Ron, and thank you everyone for coming here tonight. It's a transitional time for Richland County right now. We are currently seeking to hire another county administrator. In the interim, we have Derek Kalish and Josh Elder serving as interim administrator and interim deputy administrator respectively, and they're doing a very good job. I thank them for their efforts to keep things moving. And kind of over the holidays and the turnover to the new year, it was time to catch a breath and, okay, now we're in January, let's see what we can get moving again. In terms of giving an update on where things stand with the Richland campus, I was surprised this week when someone informed me that they heard we had paperwork all ready to go to sell the entire property to the school district. That was news to me. I'm sure it would be news to Steve Board as well. So no, that is not happening. What is going on right now? We are talking with the Richland School District, trying to come up with a memorandum of understanding that would allow them to utilize the gym space. They have some activities they would like to be able to do there. We're working on that right now. Hope to get it wrapped up pretty soon here so they could get in there and utilize that space for certain activities. Hasn't been finalized yet, but that is in progress. There are other conversations happening because lots of people have great ideas about things we could do, whether it's with the gym, whether it's increasing partnership with Simons and the school district, and these are all great ideas, and we are talking about some of them. Nothing officially has happened yet, and there are things we would have to work out to make things happen, but there have been some very good ideas, and we appreciate them, and as the mayor said, and Steve talked about, the collaboration we have had within this community is phenomenal. and we definitely want to keep that energy moving forward. So if we can find ways to do these things, I personally feel, yes, we absolutely should be doing that. So we are talking, we will continue to talk, and if we can find our ways to make these things happen, we certainly will. As far as the status of the campus property right now, we had a community meeting, it's been several months ago, and at that time we had just started to get our reports back on what the condition of the buildings and the property were, and the news at that point was not good. It hasn't gotten any better. Since that meeting, we've gotten more details about the conditions of particular buildings, cost estimates on what it would take to bring them back into line, some conversations with our consultants about, okay, what would it take to repurpose a building for something else, and again, the news has not been great. Our campus reconfiguration committee digested a lot of information, asked a lot of questions, and heading into wintertime, we had to figure some things out. What were we going to do? Because we're spending $10,000 to $12,000 a month just on utilities for these buildings, only one of which isn't really standing vacant. We do have extension staff in Melville Hall. We're the only ones out there right now, but the other buildings are standing empty, not being used. So we needed to figure out, heading into the winter months, what do we do? Would it be possible to bring temperatures down to a minimum and just kind of put the buildings in a holding status? Is it feasible to cut off heat and utilities to a building? What our consultants told us was that if you cut off heat and utilities to a building, you're pretty much writing that building off. You're opening it up to the possibilities of damage from extreme temperatures, and it's probably not going to go well. So if you make that decision, know that that's the road you're going down. The assessment information we got back on the buildings varied. For example, the science building is the most recently remodeled building on the campus. That doesn't mean it was recently remodeled, but it is the most recent. And the condition of that building varies a little bit. It has some of the newer HVAC, for example, again, not meaning it's new, but it's newer than the rest of the buildings. Some of the windows in that building are newer, but some of them are still the old single pane, energy inefficient ones like the rest of the campus buildings have. That building in particular is very specialized as to how it's equipped. It's got science labs. That's a very specialized organization and has pieces of equipment built in that are, again, for a specific purpose. So that would impact what you'd have to do to that building if you were going to reuse it for a different purpose. So just because it was the most recently remodeled doesn't necessarily mean it's the most easy one to reuse. When we considered the commonly called the classroom building, the consultants had a different name for it, but the classroom building in particular, just by virtue of the way it was constructed, with concrete block and steel and everything, it would be incredibly difficult to reconfigure the space in that building. Very high construction costs to do that. There were many deficiencies in that building as far as its condition. And to me, that's been one of the overall lessons of this whole process is deferring maintenance and putting off expenses doesn't mean you're saving any money. You are definitely saying, I want to pay 3 times as much for that later as I could pay for it today. And so we've done ourselves no favors in putting things off. The amount of work that the classroom building would need to just bring it up to standards to be used as a modern classroom today was incredibly significant. I forget what the amount was. It was a couple $1 million at least to try to look at repurposing or reconfiguring the building. The consultant's opinion was basically you're going to spend more doing that than if you tore it down and just built a new building. That wasn't good news. The campus library building, it's a fairly large open space, so it had that going for it, but it also has lots of issues. It is not up to code. It is heated by residential furnaces. There's starting to be moisture penetration up through the floor that's affecting floor tiles and carpeting. Underneath the carpeting, the consultants are absolutely sure there's asbestos tile that would have to be remediated. And even just to look at, for example, expanding the bathroom facilities in that building to meet current code, there's not enough space in the envelope of the building to do that. You'd have to build an addition onto the building just to have restrooms that meet code. You're getting rapidly again into a position where the cost of adapting and repurposing becomes more than what it would be to tear it down and start over. Again, not the news we were looking to hear. So after difficult consideration, And talking to our consultants about the ramifications, we determined that yes, we were indeed going to cut off the heat and utilities to those two buildings because it didn't appear that there was a fiscally viable path to be able to salvage and repurpose them. We encountered a few bumps when we did that. We tried to shut the water off to at least one of them, if not both of them, and discovered the valves leaked. So we have to still heat the janitor's room because those valves aren't completely shut off. So it's been an uneven experience. Again, based on what the consultants have told us, you extrapolate that out, that means those two buildings are likely to be. That's unfortunate. It's not what we wanted to see. It was not an easy decision to make. The other buildings on campus right now, as I said, Melville Hall, we have people in, so that's being utilized. The other buildings are being held at about 50 degrees temperature. That's a temperature that the consultant said was sufficient. It shouldn't cause any damage. Kind of minimizes the amount of utilities we have to invest in. Mother Nature's been pretty good to us this year that we haven't had to plow a lot of snow out there, so that's a good thing. Temperatures have been up and down. But we're kind of in a holding pattern with them right now to see what we can do. One of the things we have to do and we are working on is fixing a bridge. Both the bridges on the campus property are structurally deficient to the point that it would not be safe to bring heavy equipment for construction across either of them. So bids are going on right now, is it, Josh?
Bids are going on right now.
Yeah, to replace the one on the Simons end of the campus first. We'll determine about the other bridge after that, but that needs to be replaced so that we have a safe and dependable entrance to be able to do anything out at the campus. It's apparently safe to bring vehicular traffic across, but if you're looking at heavy equipment, heavy trucks, stuff like that, the bridges are not in structural shape to be able to support that. So we need to get that fixed. We're going to be leaning on the $2 million grant from the state that we're in the process of applying for to be able to fund that. The engineering is done, the project is going out for bids, it will be done this year. So we will have a new bridge that gives us safe and reliable access to the property. We get a lot of questions about what we're doing with it, and as you can tell from my description, we haven't made decisions on the other buildings yet. There are factors we're considering. First and foremost, the county has space needs, and that's a discussion we're getting into with our consultants right now. They not only assess the campus properties, they came in and looked at our HHS building, our courthouse, jail complex, to evaluate what are the conditions of these buildings, what kind of space does Richland County need, and what are our options. We know, for example, that our jail is deficient. It hasn't been needing correction according to the state for quite a while. We've been grandfathered in on a number of things. Eventually it may get to the point where it is so far out from meeting current standards, the state could tell us, no, you can't use it anymore. Hasn't happened yet. Hopefully it won't happen anytime soon, but that could happen. Our courtroom has deficiencies. We have a very historic courthouse building, but as far as access, as far as safety and security, technology, it has a lot of deficiencies. And to meet those access and safety and technology deficiencies is not a cheap proposition. Somebody once told me, and this was a consultant, that if you have a historic building that you want to continue to use, that's great. But it also has to function for the purpose you need it to function for. And as we sit right now with our courthouse, it's not necessarily meeting all the things we really need a courthouse to do. We're trying our best to ensure security the best way we can. We have added courthouse security staff in the courtroom while things are going on. That helps some. But as far as providing reliable and safe access to the courtroom for different parties involved in legal actions, it's a struggle in some ways. So we've got to figure some things out with that. First thought might be, well, build a new one. Our consultant said if we were to look at building a brand new county office complex, which could encompass a new jail, a courthouse, and all our county offices, we can't borrow that much money. That would be $80, $90 million under their estimation. That far exceeds our county's borrowing capacity. So we need to be figuring out, okay, what steps can we take? How can we do this? What is the most critical need? We don't have the answers to that yet, but that's what we're talking about right now. And as we consider spaces that are available to us for utilization by the county, we're looking at the campus. What do we have there that we could reuse? We could reuse Melville Hall for county office space. That is a possibility, but it would require a significant investment. They're configured to be academic offices. Part of the building is newer than another part of the building, so we'd have to look at, okay, what would we have to invest to make that practical? And is that the direction we want to go? We don't know the answer to that yet, but that's something we're talking about right now. As far as the other buildings on the campus property, I honestly don't know if there would be a county use for those buildings, but we want to look at it before we decide on, what happens to those buildings next. Most common question we get is, what about the stuff in the buildings? Because there's a large amount of stuff that was left behind after Platteville pulled out. They took all the stuff they wanted, and they left us with a bunch of stuff. And I think that's probably the best way to describe it, is stuff. Some of it may have some value. We have been able to utilize some tables and desks and things like that that they left behind for county purposes. But there's a volume of things out there that we really don't have the staff time to go through and try to organize an inventory at this point. And in the middle of winter, we're not going to try to undertake that. But when spring comes, we're going to try to engage with somebody that could go through all that for us. And we're thinking probably hold a public auction to give everybody a fair shot at anything they might be interested in. I would not be under any kind of illusion that we're going to make money on this deal. But it's a fair way to give anybody who might be interested in it a shot at something, not probably to hopefully generate enough revenue to pay for the cost of doing the auction. But again, a final decision hasn't been made on that yet. That's the direction we're leaning, and when the warmer months get here, we can get people out there to start looking at things. So folks who've been asking about specific items, our answer has been, we're going to have to wait a little bit because we want to make sure we're giving everybody a fair shot, not showing preference. We do have county extension staff, as I mentioned, in Melville Hall. We might look at putting other county staff there unless we determine that there's someplace else that makes sense. And we're in the very beginning parts of that space needs study, working with our consultants now. We'll be having another campus reconfiguration committee meeting in a couple of weeks here to get back into the flow of that and see where we stand and what our options are. It's a difficult balance that we're in right now because we don't want to rush into something just to be doing something, whether it's a reuse for the campus property or a decision on county office space or whatever it might be. But we also can't afford to wait too long. As I said, we're spending thousands of dollars a month on utilities for vacant buildings out at the campus. That's not a sustainable prospect, so we've got to figure out what we're going to do. We're paying attention to those condition reports. We're hearing ideas from people of things we could do, and that's great. But first we want to sort out, okay, what are the county's needs? What are realistic things that we could talk about? And then if we decide, okay, the county's not going to use that space, well, what else could it be? We have heard from various folks that there are folks who would love to see it continued to use for an educational purpose. That's a great idea. There are folks who think it should be developed. Well, that's possible, but I'm not sure to what. And you have to also consider just the physical layout of the property. You have the front of the property where you have two bridges coming across the creek, you have parking lots out front, and a lot of that area is in floodplain. So either you would have to elevate it out of the floodplain, which could impact your water flow and drainage, and DNR gets involved in that, or you have to look at, okay, well, what has to happen then beyond that range? And the maps they showed us back even before the campus closed, that floodplain goes almost all the way up to the edge of the Wallace Student Center. And then the buildings behind that are out of it. So that's a factor we have to consider. We had the rain event last year where it went over both the existing bridges. First time anybody could ever recall that happening. That actually impacted the design of the new bridge. They raised it up a little bit, so hopefully that doesn't happen again. But those are things you have to consider. There's land out behind the buildings. What could be done with that? Again, people have had different ideas, but you have to consider access to that land. Even the campus buildings, if you're going to be reusing them, right now it's structured so you park in the parking lot and you walk everywhere. Is that the best access scenario for somebody else who might want to use that building for a different purpose? I don't know. And so do you have to look at it? Are you going to be building some roads and parking lots and stuff like that? That's all part of what you have to consider. The numbers we've gotten from our consultants are just for the buildings themselves. They wouldn't be for any other access or adjacent site work that might need to be done. Adjacent things to the campus property, the soccer fields, the school district is interested in using, and we've talked about that, and yeah, we should be able to allow them to use that, and we'll They've offered to mow it, so hey, cool, that gets it taken care of. We have tennis courts out there that were built with a grant that stipulates in perpetuity they have to be open and accessible for public recreational use. So we have to look at that and figure out, okay, what could we do with that that's going to be open and ongoing for public recreational use. Simons will probably be involved in administering or overseeing that and figuring out what we can do to comply with the grant restrictions. Lesson in that is make sure you read the fine print before you sign the dotted line to accept the money on something. Not that it's bad that it's open for public recreational use, but it's committed to that in perpetuity. So we want to make sure we get those tennis courts up to being safe so that we can open them up for access, whether they're used as tennis courts or it's some other recreational use. We'll discuss and see what we can figure out to do. And again, lots of good ideas have come forward about many of these things. And I'm very glad that people are thinking about this and coming up with these ideas. Please don't be discouraged that nothing has happened yet, because there are so many factors to consider as we look at all these things. Being able to work together in cooperation with Simons, with the city, with the school district, means that we all have to be on the same page about things. We all have to make sure that what we would like to do is permissible for us to do, and that we set ourselves up with solutions that can be sustainable. One of the beautiful things about Simons, for example, it was donated to us. But it was donated to us and then we have to run it on an ongoing basis. You have to have staff, you have to do maintenance, you have to make sure all those costs are provided for. So even if you can generate funding to do a project of some type, you also have to plan for its sustainability. From the county side, planning for sustainability is a skill that we're still developing in some ways. As you've probably seen in other news that we've had with the county, thinking ahead, looking ahead, planning ahead has not always been our strong suit. So we're committed to doing that more and making sure that whatever we put in place is going to be sustainable and ultimately will benefit our whole county and our whole community. We are again pursuing that $2 million reconfiguration grant from the state. It doesn't have necessarily a lot of restrictions on what you can use it for, but they do want you to outline a plan of what you'll use it for. So initially we're looking at reconstructing the bridge. We may be looking at demolishing some buildings, so we've got to get all that information together and send that in, and hopefully they will then release the money to us. People have asked, when this news first came, and I was county board chair for all of less than a week when we got the announcement from UW System that they were closing it down and walking away. Since that day, people have been asking, well, are you going to sue them? Are you going to take them to court? We haven't made a final decision on that. Our options are open. What we have been told all along is, yeah, you could sue. Are you going to win? Pretty dubious chances from people that I've talked to. Legal action costs money. Do we want to spend thousands of dollars on something that doesn't have a high likelihood of succeeding? Again, still having conversations about that, but just so if you're thinking that, that's kind of where we stand right now. And just one other note, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the recent passing of our county board member and former county board chair, Marty Brewer. He had a passion for the campus property, as he had a passion for many things about county government. And so his presence is definitely missed as we consider these decisions moving forward. But I do want to thank the community for your interest, for your ideas, for your support as we sort through decisions the county has to make, as we sort through working with our partners to move forward in other areas. And thank you for your contributions to the quality of life in this community. Very much appreciated.
Thank you, Dave, very much. Still time if you'd like to be able to drop a question into the box, and we'll share those. And Dave, as I think about the questions that I've been given, there are answers that you've already given, but I'm going to ask them regardless. And maybe the terminology will be a bit different, or it gives us a chance to reemphasize something that someone is wondering about. And the first one is this: how do people in this community make suggestions about the campus, and what is the process for that effort?
That's a good question. We've gotten feedback from people talking to me on the street. Candace, our former county administrator, had people reach out to her with ideas. We had talked initially when our first thought was we could repurpose the property. We were going to go out and solicit proposals for somebody who wanted to come in and take it over, and we have since learned that that's maybe not the most realistic approach. So I don't know that we will have a formalized proposal process as we had initially discussed. So for right now, if you have ideas, certainly feel free to reach out to me as county board chair, to Derek as our interim administrator, to Josh as our interim deputy administrator. We probably can't give you a yes or no answer on the idea, but we can certainly add it to the discussion. Please do come and participate in our campus reconfiguration committee meetings. Those are open to the public. We don't have it on the calendar right now, but in early February we should be having another one of those. If you're not able to be there in person, there is an online connection available. You can listen in, you can participate online if you want to ask questions. So.
You addressed the fact that there's a lot of contents remaining in the buildings at UW Richland. A question tonight, may community players be considered to remove costumes and props from the green room that have been a part of this community's theater productions for years?
We've certainly tried to make our efforts to make sure that if any organization, whether it's community players or the Alumni Association, had stuff out there that was theirs, they had access to get it and get it out. As far as what remains after that, we want to be sure we are fair. The community players definitely has interest. There are other community theater groups around that might have interest as well, or schools that might have interest, so we want to try to create a process where we give fair access to everybody who's interested. So it's possible those things might go to an auction. We'll take a look. Again, if it's something that is owned by the community theater group, let us know about that. If you haven't gotten that out already, we'll try to make sure you have an arrangement to get what's yours.
The next question, Dave, again comes your way, or to Josh, and that is, has the lease with the Regents been terminated?
That would probably be a question for our corporation counsel. The property is at present, to the best of my knowledge, completely under the control of Richland County. UW System walked away from it. My understanding as a layperson, not a lawyer, is that violates the terms of the agreement we had with them, so therefore it reverts to our complete control. But again, I'm not a lawyer, I don't know the complete whys and wherefores of that, but at present we are in control of the property.
The next question, and gentlemen, I'm going to let each one of you address it if you so desire. And one of our individuals who's joining us here this evening would like comments concerning the development of the scenic hills north of the campus. So if any one of you or all of you would like to be able to speak to that, you are certainly welcome.
From the county's perspective, we don't have anything going on with that right now. It may be one of the things that people have brought up ideas about. Mayor Cochran, I don't know if you have any extra thoughts you'd want to add to that?
There really isn't a plan to develop that at this point because, as Mr. Turk has articulated, the county has a lot of sorting out to do in the first place with the property. The questions are right on target. What about the lease? What about this? What about that? Well, the county's trying to find answers to all of that at this point, and the conditions of the buildings you just heard about. So I haven't been involved in any conversation on development of that land behind the campus buildings in probably 2 years at this point. That's it. Steve, did you? Yeah.
Let's pass it to Mike if we can. Mike, we'll have you address this one. One of our contributors tonight would like to have you speak to the fact about Simons being a resource, attracting an aging population that wants to maintain a healthy lifestyle as residents of this community.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, Simons has, since 1987, Simons has been really, I guess, at the center of that. That's been really the, I think, the foundation of what Simons really strives for, working with, really with all populations, I think. And we're getting into now, in addition to senior citizens and some of our adults in the community, we're looking at doing more with the youth of our community as well, and we're starting to work with Steve in the school district, and as well as Ithaca and St. Mary's and some of the other schools in the area, being more inclusive in that way. We've got several grants that are out there right now, and we don't have anything we can announce yet, but we expect in the next couple of months we'll be hearing more that's going to really enhance some of those programs as well, including youth programs, free swim lessons. We've got a new grant out there that we're waiting to hear on that's going to hopefully assist in transportation for individuals around the county. So for for those those over 60 and disabled individuals in our community that may have some transportation issues. Help with transportation vouchers, we've got grants out for that. So those are things that we're looking at building on as well. And that again is our foundation, is really is the only swimming pool in the area. We hear that every day. It's a therapy pool. We've had so many stories of people that that have really rehabilitated from injuries. Just really has improved a lot of people's lives from what we've heard. So really the pool is the anchor of that. So we're really building on that. We're really pushing for more inclusive use, more accessibility for Simons. Al had mentioned the grant written for the SciFit. That's one piece of equipment that really it's our first inclusive piece of equipment in the fitness room. We're looking at acquiring more of those type equipment as well, so that we can work more with the hospital, with healthcare officials, and getting more therapy equipment in there, so that we can better meet those needs as well.
Mike, just to follow that up, how large a footprint in southwest Wisconsin is Simons serving now? In other words, members are coming from how far and from what communities?
Well, certainly we've got the entire county, but we do have people from Reedsburg and Sauk County, Iowa County. We also work with ADRC in both not only Richland County but also Vernon County. We have a partnership with them. We do have some remote classes as well, or some mobile classes that we teach in both in Muscoda and in Lafarge. So we do some outside teaching as well. So we've got all of our surrounding counties, Iowa, Grant. We do go into Muscoda and a little bit into those counties as well. We have had people far into Madison and other areas, and they're not regular customers necessarily, but they do come in quite frequently. And of course we get a lot of visitors, especially around the holidays. We get a lot of veterans that come back and visit. We do have a program for veterans as well, where they get free admission, thanks to some donations. But I think as far as the footprint goes, there really aren't a lot of communities that have what we have here at Simons. So that really impacts not only the 17,000 or so people in Richland County, but again overflowing into, as I mentioned, the neighboring counties as well. So there's a footprint of a good 20,000 plus people that really are impacted by what we do offer.
Let's pass the mic, if we can, back down to Dave Turk. The next one that we have here tonight, a resident shares this, Dave. I feel at a minimum the tennis court and basketball court should be donated to the Simons Center and possibly the gym. What would prevent that from happening? Is it a possibility?
Is it possible? I would say yes, it's possible. We're very much thinking of the tennis courts in conjunction with what Simons might be able to do out there. That's been some of our initial discussion so far. As it relates to the gym, that's a more difficult question, because to be able to utilize the gym, you also have to maintain staffing. And that's something we don't have the resources to do at the moment. That's not to say we couldn't figure it out someday and perhaps do it, but right now, right here, not at the moment.
Mike, is there anything you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, nothing really to add, but yeah, it's the same thing. A lot of people have asked. I started in April, and since April, people have been asking every week, don't you want the gym? The gym would be so great. And yeah, there's a lot of things Kyle and I have talked about, a lot of different programming that we'd love to do there, and a lot of things that we could do there. But just like Dave mentioned, it's the sustainability that we have to really look at. $2 million to fix it up, that doesn't bother me at all. We could easily do that. We've done things like that before, but it's the same thing with the donation of the Simons, the same thing with getting $2 million to renovate it. It's easy to get, but 10 years down the road, are you going to still have it? We don't want to take over something that we can only run for a couple of years and then we don't have the funding to do it. So those are still things that obviously we need to talk about. And it's something that we're interested in, something that would work, very well, something that would work well with the school district as well, and kind of a partnership type thing. And those are things that we're all talking about. So, but we're not quite there yet. So we'll keep working.
Thank you. Let's bring it back down to Dave if we can. The next question, Dave, is can any thought be given to provide housing for people until permanent housing can be found for residents who are without a place to live?
As far as an idea of utilizing current campus buildings for
That's
housing,
the way I read that.
that is not practical. It would require, they're not structured to be residential facilities. You don't have appropriate plumbing, you don't have appropriate facilities within those buildings as they exist now. They are deficient even for their current purpose. To get them updated enough where they could serve as housing would require an investment of several $1 million for just one building. And again, then you get to, okay, who's going to staff it, who's going to maintain it, those kinds of questions. So as well intended as the idea is, I don't see it being incredibly practical, unfortunately.
The next question is in regard to the memorandum of understanding that you talked about with the Richland School District. Would that allow flexibility for other groups that might desire to use the gymnasium facility?
I think at this time, Steve, we're just looking at between the two entities, the county and the school board, correct?
I believe so.
Yeah, so that would be a step down the road if, you know, like Mike was talking, if we got to a situation where it was open for more expanded use, and, you know, then we could look at other people being able to use it. Right now, the condition of that facility is it's in that holding pattern at 50 degrees like the other buildings in the campus are. We're not maintaining it, we're not cleaning it. So part of our MOU is to figure out, okay, how do we do that so they could use it? But as far as opening it up to other community use, we're not that far yet.
Steve, do you want to add anything to that?
I think he summarized it very well.
Okay, let's pass the microphone to the mayor if we can. The next question, Mayor Todd, comes from an individual who wonders about the status of the Gunderson Eye Clinic and what that property might look like or what its possibilities might be for the future.
It's a great question, to be honest. We were just talking about this at City Hall on Monday. We honestly don't know what the ownership of that property intends to do with it. Honestly, they've been difficult to reach. I don't know what they're going to do with the building. It's obviously a great facility, great location. We'd like to see something new in there, whether it's a new eye doctor. I know there's a local dentist looking for a place to put a bigger studio for his practice. I think it would be great for that. I don't have an answer as to what or when, but we agree with you that it's a great location for something, and we'd like to see it utilized. When the eye clinic left, I actually heard it from Bruce Raisler, our hospital administrator, who I think was very surprised at the news at the time. There really was the second time, by the way, that Gunderson's done that to this community. The first time was dialysis. Make a decision and tell you and leave. And we weren't thrilled, but we couldn't control it. It was done and decided before anybody here knew it. So I'd like to see something new in there, but right now I don't have an answer for you.
So if we can bring it back to Dave. Dave, could you please give us an update on the radio tower project, where that's at, and how that will impact all of us once completed?
And actually, I'll pass this over to Josh, who's actively been working on that.
Okay, the radio tower, we just had another meeting this morning. Roughly that radio tower completion is right about 60%, maybe a fuzz more than that. Construction is basically taking place at all of the sites. We're working right now with the lease agreement along with the licensing agreement for US Cellular. That kind of stalled us in the process. US Cellular kind of stalled for close to 6 months to over a year before we were able to get them back on track. But last week we've made significant headway with them, and we've got things back in motion for 2 of the sites. So once that's done, we'll be looking at possibly radio tower functionality around the first part of summer at the earliest, and along with testing throughout the year. And then it'll be a transition process of switching off the old system and going to the new system. So it's going to take the rest of the year to be fully operational and everything running smoothly, but we're getting there for the completion.
If we can pass it to the mayor next. One of the things that I know that you've been working on with this group as you collaborate together is talking about fire departments and some of the things that go, Mayor. Could you share that, please?
Thanks, Ron. Actually, that leads me, I'll answer that, but also it leads into something else I wanted to touch on while we're here tonight. See a lot of important folks in the room tonight. One of them in the back is Mr. Scott Gold, who wears multiple hats in the community. He is the fire chief, he is the electric supervisor for city utilities, and he's now also the city utility manager. So to start with fire, our fire district serves 310 square miles. Might be the biggest district in the state. Scott, number 1 or number 2, the biggest or not?
Biggest single station department.
Biggest single station department in Wisconsin. And I think most of our residents don't know that. And look at the service we get. There are about 50 firefighters, correct? Servicing 310 square miles. And when we talk about fire, If you come to one of our fire board meetings, you'll find out how often they're involved in lift assists with our ambulance crews, how many other traffic accidents, cleaning up and directing the traffic. These guys do a ton of work for this community, and they cover that huge area, and I just don't get complaints about the service. It's a pretty amazing thing we have here in town. As we talk through this, some things I want to make sure the public is aware of. It was announced, but to make sure you know, there was a truck donated this year to our fire district. The truck was donated by Jones Chevrolet, and the gear for it came from Cardinal. And it's a light truck. It's the first truck out on a call, right? Okay, I know, I should almost wait. Scott, come here. Come here. Scott, come here. He's not going to do it. Yeah, okay, I'll do it, but I'm actually trying to give you an opportunity here. Okay, I want the people in this community to realize when we talk about collaboration, for the purposes of this event, we're talking about, city, schools, county, and so on. But way beyond that, I just told you, Jones Chevrolet and Cardinal donated a truck and a gear 100% for free to the fire district. More of that stuff goes on than I think a lot of people here realize. We talk about grace and everything, all the people here are so involved in that. That's an obvious one. A lot of them stay behind the scenes. But it's the collaboration spirit and the effort up here. It isn't just confined to government. It's the people that live here too. We couldn't do what we're doing without all of you, and the only reason we do it is for all of you. So our fire district is a shining example of what can be done. Assist all over the place with other smaller departments. Assist all the time with our EMS and with our police. And they don't get a lot of praise for that, because I think the public, to be honest, isn't aware of how much they're doing. You know it if your house is on fire, but did you know it if somebody's having a problem in their house and can't get up? Guess who comes and lifts you? Just as a simple example. And the training they get is first rate. The attention to detail over there is fantastic. We're blessed to have them here. So I'm going to tie into that because I just touched on it. Mr. Gold is now also the city's utility manager, and that happened about 6 months, happened over the summer. That's a role that had not existed and honestly should have for a long time. And that has been a tremendous improvement for the community. If you haven't noticed it yet on your utility bill, if you live in the city, your sewer rate just went down. It actually went down. When's the last time you heard that? And that's through a lot of people's work, but putting that manager in there helped lead to that. It's one of many examples of collaboration happening within City Hall between our city administrator, our director of public works, and that utility manager looking for ways to cut waste out and improve and save money and improve services to the community. So thank you, whoever asked that about the fire district, because it gave me an opportunity to really thank Mr. Gold, and then by extension to make sure that everybody here understands 310 square miles served by about 50 people every day of the year, no matter what the weather's doing, no matter who needs you. You've got a tremendous fire department here in Richland Center.
Mayor, could you talk a little bit about the trucks that we've seen in town? Lots of wiring, lots of schools, right in the middle of the winter.
You're correct. Okay, that's Frontier. Improving the internet service as they go forward. We'll have better high-speed internet in town, so it's worthwhile. It's one of those things where things are placed where they have to be placed, and we find out who got a big box in the boulevard in front of their house when it gets placed because they call. And I don't know when it's going to be completed. Jason, do you know how much longer they'll be?
It'll probably be early summer before they're done.
Yeah, and what it's all about is to improve and increase high-speed internet in the city, and that's Frontier doing that. They approached the city, told us what they could do. The city council approved that, and just the timing was when they needed to start to meet their completion date, which was to be ready for the summer. So they'll be working right through the spring. We're excited about the end result, and I know, thanks for your patience, everybody, as they've been out there digging. It's a necessary thing to get to a better future.
Let's pass it down to Steve Board if we can. Steve, I want to just be able to share with you a conversation that I had with an individual recently who told me about the success of the partner school. and about how someone in their life, all of a sudden, for the first time in their life, love to go to school. Can you give us kind of a thumbnail sketch and what some of the successes are and where you see that going in the future?
Yeah, this is the second year of the partner school. We intentionally started small. We wanted to make sure that we built this with sustainability in mind. Had 12 students our first year, 25 this year, looking to expand that to 40 next year. We have a waiting list of about 20 students wanting to get in. We have realized that education, the way it is traditionally done, has failed a growing number of students. This is not a Richland Center phenomenon, this is not a Wisconsin phenomenon, this is a national phenomenon. And so I think that it's important for schools to be solution-based and future-focused. And that means that we have to find ways to meet the needs of all students, because not all students learn in the traditional ways of sitting in a desk in a classroom, listening to a teacher, give a lecture, do some work, take it home, rinse and repeat the next day. Some students have to learn in different ways, and we're recognizing that more and more post-pandemic. And so the Partner School is an opportunity for our older students, specifically 9 through 12, to get the same quality education, to meet the same standards academically that our other students are facing, but they're doing it in a project-based format. They're making connections with the community, and they are doing it in areas that they are interested in. And we're finding that this has been a great way for students to engage in school, engage in their community, and engage in real life experiences. Kim Siefkes is our lead teacher down there. She's done a fantastic job. One just very recent example, the students at the partner school wanted to build a deck. And so Ms. Siefkes actually took them down to City Hall. They worked with the city administration. They went through the permits themselves. Actually, one of the students signed the permit, which we had to then have somebody more official sign it. But they're going through all the entire process, and they are going to be building their deck up to code, going through all of the things that they have to do, just like any resident would do. Real life examples for real students trying to learn and do school in a different way. And at this point, it's been a huge success, and we're excited to expand that and excited to also explore other alternative education options for our students in the future.
Can an increasing enrollment in the partner school be a benefit to the declining enrollment you talked about during your remarks, Steve?
Absolutely. You know, we are hoping that by offering not just the partner school options, but any of our alternative education options that we currently have or ones that we're exploring to do in the future, will not only retain the students that we have, not only give us an opportunity to bring back some of the students that may have left, but also to increase, and not that we're trying to compete with other public schools, but in some ways we are, right? I mean, we want our students to have, all of our students around the area, have opportunities for them to be most successful. We want parents to have opportunities to put their kids in situations where they're most successful. So by having other alternative options and doing it really, really well, we think that there are options for school-age children in our area to find ways that best meet their needs. So yes, I believe that in the future it's going to be a way to offset some of that declining enrollment. We've already had conversations with neighboring districts, trying to emulate some of the things that we're doing, trying to maybe send their kids to our school because they believe that we're doing it well, and we're excited about that. But it doesn't go well without great team and great staff and great people that really engage in looking at other options, and we've got that right now, and I'm thankful for that.
We've covered all of our questions tonight. At this point, I'd like to have each one of you talk about how people can get more information. For example, Steve, I think you have a website devoted completely to keeping us up to date with the referendum, how those dollars are working and so forth. So let's come right down the line and talk about how people gain more information, either online or other sources, to be engaged and informed.
Sure, thank you. I think you're doing some of it right now, and I appreciate that, and I thank each and every one of you in here genuinely and sincerely for taking time out of your schedules to gather information and hear it firsthand. So I appreciate those in the room. Those that may be listening online are taking that step as well. But how can you get more information about some of the things that the school district's doing? The website, our website, is probably the most critical. Okay, from there you can get to our dedicated referendum website where you can track dollars that are being spent. You can see project updates through photos as well as just through percentages. How far along are we in the design phase? How far along are we in the construction phase when those things happen? How are we doing from a budgetary standpoint? Stay informed through our board meetings, okay? Either joining in person or in Zoom, via Zoom, or watching those board meetings afterwards on YouTube. Staying informed is so important because then those prompt questions that can help us come up with solutions, okay? And help us to address things before maybe they are problems. And then of course you can always call any of our buildings, any of our administrators are welcome to help. I am more than happy to help listen to your feedback and your concerns and your solutions that you may have. So we now have one number for our district. It's 649-HIVE, H-I-V-E. From that number, that one number, you can reach our district office, you can reach any of our buildings, you can reach our food service. And so if you have questions, 649-HIVE, and you can reach any of us, and we'll be more than happy to help. So website, stay informed through Zoom and our board meetings, and then just reach out and via email or in person or phone call. I'd be more than happy to take the time to help you the best I can. And thanks again for coming.
Al Lance, how about the Simons Foundation?
There's a link on the Simons website to the foundation. There's some information there. If you become a member of Simons, you're guaranteed to get a newsletter from us, probably a couple times a year. There's 7 board members on the Simons board. Our pictures and names are up in a display case in the lobby. You know, I'm there generally 5:30 in the morning, and the rest of them are there at other times during the day. So if you got a question, just reach out and talk to us.
Mike Hardy.
Of course, simonsrec.com is our website. We update that frequently. Our Facebook page is probably our best and most current. We do meet the natatorium board meets, which we've got 3 members of the city council, 3 members of the county board, and currently 2 members at large. We are working on redoing that agreement as well. But the natatorium board meets the second Monday of every month at 5:30 p.m. And those meetings, we've got our agendas and minutes on those meetings, and we also report our membership numbers and our budget, so you can follow all of that. Of course, you can always call us or stop by and see us. Kyle and I are always around. You can always stop in and talk to any of the desk people too, and we communicate any of those concerns as well. And we've got, again, we've got more membership now than we've had in the last 5 years, so membership is really up a lot. And we saw that last night when we had a fitness class that we had a couple of people that turned around and left because there wasn't any room there, wasn't any space there. So yeah, we do know that we need space, and that's one reason why we talk about things like the gym and that type of thing too. So certainly talk with our instructors, talk with any of our staff, and we're happy to. We do have surveys coming out as well. We'll be doing another survey coming out here pretty quick. So fill out those surveys, participate in these community forums, and let us know what you want to see, and we'll help push it through.
Todd Coppernall.
Thank you. As the others have already stated, in our case, the city website is going to be your best source for information. I would also add, if you are getting your news from a Facebook gossip group, thank you in advance for changing your habits. If you want accurate information, the Richland Observer and WRCO cover our meetings all the time. Also, I do the WRCO morning show once a month with updates on what we're working on. And also, Administrator Oliphant, right here, is available in the City Hall 5 days a week, all day, as is the Director of Public Works, Jason Glassbrenner. You can always call me, 608-604-5399. And again, we'd like to hear more from you than I think sometimes we do. If you come to a city council meeting, you're going to meet the same 5 people that were there the last 12 times. Really. I mean, if it's not on your street, we don't tend to hear from you. And I understand human nature, but come on out. And our meetings are always recorded on video, Mr. Rod Perry, and then available on YouTube. You can watch there if you can't get down. Listen to the news on WRCO, read the Observer, and reach out to those of us who are serving. We'd love to hear from you.
Before you pass the mic, I'm remiss, I should have asked you a little bit about Panorama Estates. I think that's a good update for you to be able to provide this evening.
You bet, absolutely. This was a lot of work, and a lot of us were involved in this. It took a lot longer than any of us wanted to. As you probably know, COVID broke everything, not just with the price of eggs. The price of construction went crazy too. The price to borrow money when interest rates went up and all of that. The builder that is contracted with the city to build 2 more buildings at Panorama Estates, apartment buildings, just ran into an issue where it was too expensive to get it built, to get the money borrowed and so forth to get it built. So we worked with them over an extended period. There was a lot of frustration because we knew the public wanted answers and the buildings needed to be done. We never lost faith in the project. We stayed on it. And a couple of months ago now, a new agreement was signed, and there will be 2 new buildings of 46 units apiece, built simultaneously up in that same area where the first building stands. And the agreement calls for groundbreaking no later than the 15th of June of this year. And the plan is to get the foundation done for building 2, which they told us is about a 2-month process, and then begin building 3 and build them together. So that's, I don't know, 14 months, 16 months, I don't know how long it's going to take them to finish the build. They'll start in June, and when they're done, there will be 92 new apartments next to the 45 that are already there, and I have no doubt that that makes that the biggest apartment project in this city's history. And it's exciting, it's an opportunity for the community to grow, and I want to thank everybody that worked on it. It wasn't easy to get there, but we did.
Sounds good. Josh Elder.
The county's website is always going to be the best. From there, you can find all of our contact information, reach out, call us at any time. That's perfectly fine. And you'll also find all the agendas, the meeting minutes, and each meeting is always video recorded. You can view those online, and that's how you can really stay involved and show up to the meetings. If you have questions, concerns, there's always time for public comment on basically every meeting, so you can always ask questions there.
Thank you, Josh. Final word, Dave Turk.
Echo what Josh said about attending meetings, whether in person or virtually. We have a link to almost all our county meetings, so you can attend them virtually. And as Josh said, they are recorded by the county, so you can watch that recording. We appreciate WRCO, The Observer, and NOVA for covering our executive and finance meetings and our full county board meetings. And NOVA then posts them on YouTube, so you can watch them there. And we appreciate people being involved, being aware, and being concerned. And certainly if you have specific questions, reach out to your county board representative. As Josh said, you can find that information on our website, all the board members from the different districts. You can reach out to me if you want. I may not always have the answer, but I can try to track it down. And certainly Josh and Derek, as our interim administrator and interim deputy administrator, are central points of contact for a lot of different things going on in the county.
Ron, if you have more to say, do it. I'd actually like to make a closing remark.
No, this is the perfect time.
Okay, so Mr. Turk said a few words earlier about a gentleman I got to know 5 years ago who had become a dear friend who recently passed away. And the reason I'm touching on this, I think it's only right to inform the public that these events and the meetings we all have regularly and the results that they've led to, for instance, the community resource officer in the school and the other things you've heard us talk about that came from us all getting together, all started when, as brand new mayor, not quite 5 years ago, I was walking into the courthouse to go to an editorial board meeting that is also attended by the county board chair, and there was a brand new Kearney County board chair named Marty Brewer. And he introduced himself to me. We did not know each other. And he said, Todd, I'd like to start meeting with you. I think we can do better for this community. I think we can build a stronger relationship between the city and the county than what we have. I said, that sounds great. And we started to talk on the phone, and over time then the county administrator and Marty would meet with the city administrator and myself, and then that led to, then the school district got involved, and Marty and I and Steve worked on a plan that eventually led to the school district owning East Hall, and that's where that other school now is. And then as we went on, Simon's got involved. How do we ensure that that facility stays part of this community going forward? And here we all are working on so many different things, and I think I just wouldn't have felt right tonight if I didn't tell you all that it started with Mr. Marty Brewer. And we've lost him, and he was a good friend, and he was an excellent servant of this community. He wasn't always popular because he always told the truth. And he took on the tough stuff, and the county's had some tough stuff with the campus and everything. And I didn't agree with everything he did. He didn't agree with everything I did, but he really believed we could do better here, and he was working to do that. And here we all are tonight, and I just wanted to thank Mr. Marty Brewer.
Sounds good. With that, we conclude our program tonight with a thank you again for attending, and remind you that you can share with friends and neighbors that this will be posted online. You can view it on YouTube, and we'll look forward to more of these in the future. Thank you.
And thank you, Ron, for moderating tonight. We appreciate your work.